There are few things more haunting than a death that refuses to decay. Most bodies fade, reclaimed by earth, dust, and time. But every so often, nature breaks its own rules and keeps the dead perfectly preserved. A child with skin still soft after 500 years. A hunter frozen mid-step, his last breath locked in ice. A woman's final scream captured forever in ash. These are not fossils. They are moments. Lives stopped and never allowed to finish. And the deeper we dig, the stranger and more human their stories become. Death has always been the great eraser, but the planet, in rare moments, becomes its own archivist. Across deserts, glaciers, and bogs, a few ancient corpses have slipped through the usual decay. Their bodies remain untouched, sealed by ice, acid, or fire, time capsules holding secrets of how they lived and how they died. Archaeologists call them preserved remains. But in truth, they are the closest thing we have to ghosts, trapped halfway between life and memory. Over the centuries, we've uncovered hundreds of skeletons, but only a handful of faces. And those faces tell stories that textbooks never could. Picture this, a glacier field in the Alps. The air so still you can hear your own heartbeat. A melting patch of ice reveals something brown, human-shaped. It's not bone, it's flesh. Or a peat bog in Denmark, black, oily, and still. What looks like a log in the mud turns out to be a face. Skin darkened, but eyes still staring. In another land, under the Andean sun, archaeologists dig through stone and salt and uncover a small girl, her braids still tied, her lips frozen mid-prayer. Every one of these places holds a death too perfect to forget, each a window into the most mysterious and brutal moments humanity has ever endured. Let's step through the ice, one layer at a time, each deeper, colder, and stranger than the last. One, the Iceman of the Alps, Ötzi. He was found face down in a melting glacier over 10,000 feet above sea level. At first, hikers thought he was a lost climber. Then they realized his body was 5,300 years old. His skin still clung to muscle. His last meal was intact inside his stomach. Even his tattoos, over 60 of them, were still visible. At first, scientists thought he had died from exposure. But then they found something that changed everything, an arrowhead lodged in his shoulder and deep cuts across his hands. Ötzi hadn't simply frozen, he'd been murdered. DNA analysis later revealed traces of another man's blood on his knife, meaning he'd fought back, injured his attacker, and fled into the storm, only to bleed out alone high in the mountains. 5,000 years later, his body remains exactly as he fell, a silent witness to the world's oldest unsolved crime. 2. The Maiden of Lulailako, the ice child of the Andes. At nearly 22,000 feet above sea level, atop a volcano in Argentina, a team of mountaineers discovered a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Inside was a girl, perfectly preserved, every hair still in place. She was around 15, her cheeks still round, her lips blue from the cold, and she'd been sitting there for 500 years. She wasn't alone. 2 younger children were buried beside her, all victims of an Incan ritual known as capacocha. They had been chosen, with the purest of the pure, to be offered to the gods. Autopsies revealed something shocking. In her final hours, the girl had been heavily sedated with coca and alcohol. She had fallen asleep and never woken up. Her body, sealed in snow and oxygen-starved air, mummified naturally. Her cells, even her lungs, were so preserved that scientists could study ancient diseases within them. She is the best preserved mummy in human history, so lifelike that when her face was first revealed, archaeologists stepped back in silence. It looked as if she might breathe again. 3. The Tolland Man. The peaceful face of death. Not all preserved bodies were frozen. Some were buried in something far stranger, acidic peat bogs. In 1950, a pair of Danish farmers digging for peat uncovered what they thought was a recent murder victim. The police arrived and realized the man had been dead for over 2,000 years. His face was so perfectly preserved that you could still see his stubble, the wrinkles in his brow, and the peaceful expression on his lips. Around his neck, a noose made of braided leather. He had been hanged and placed gently into the bog, not as a criminal, but as an offering. His last meal, found in his stomach, was a simple porridge of grains and seeds, a ritual meal eaten before sacrifice. The bog's unique chemistry, oxygen poor, acidic and cold, had tanned his skin into leather, stopping decay completely. The Tolland Man's expression became world famous, not a grimace, but calm acceptance. Death immortalized in peace. 4. Pompeii. The city that died in a single breath. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted with the force of a nuclear bomb. In seconds, a wall of ash and fire consumed the Roman city of Pompeii. No one had time to run. When archaeologists began digging centuries later, they didn't find skeletons. They found shadows. Human-shaped voids in the ash, men, women and children caught mid-motion, reaching, hiding, embracing. By pouring plaster into these voids, scientists recreated their final poses in chilling detail. One man shielding his face, a mother clutching her child, a dog twisting in agony. These casts weren't just statues. They were negatives of real human bodies, preserved at the exact instant of death. Unlike mummies, Pompeii's victims are not bodies. They are imprints of terror itself, a city frozen not by ice but by fire. 5. The Franklin Expedition, the men who ate each other. In 1845, two British ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set out to chart the Northwest Passage through the Arctic. They never returned. Over a century later, melting permafrost revealed their fate. The bodies of the crew were found buried in shallow graves, their faces still frozen in agony. At first, it seemed they'd simply succumbed to the cold, but forensic studies revealed something far darker. Their bones bore deep knife marks, signs of cannibalism. Trapped in the ice, starving and delirious, the men had begun eating the dead to survive. Even more horrifying, scientists discovered high levels of lead in their remains, a result of poorly sealed tin rations that slowly poisoned them all. Their minds had been unraveling even before the hunger began. To this day, the ships themselves have been found, sitting upright on the Arctic seabed, perfectly preserved, cabins still holding plates, boots, and logbooks frozen in time. The Franklin Expedition remains one of history's coldest, darkest mysteries. A story where the ice didn't just kill, it kept. But none of these are as eerie as what was found in a lonely burial mound on the Siberian steppe. In 1993, deep within the Altai Mountains, archaeologists uncovered a wooden chamber buried in permafrost. Inside was a woman, tattooed from shoulder to wrist, her skin still pale, her hair still braided in red ochre. She'd lain there, untouched, for 2,400 years. The tattoos, black and intricate, depicted mythical beasts, a deer with a griffin's beak, a stag turning into fire. Every line still visible, as if freshly inked. Her death, however, was brutal. Her body showed signs of advanced cancer. She'd likely suffered greatly before dying. Yet her burial was extravagant. 6 horses, weapons, jewelry, all laid beside her. She had been someone important, possibly a priestess or healer among the Pazyryk people. For millennia, her tomb remained frozen, until rising temperatures thawed the permafrost, revealing her to the world. Locals called her the Princess of Ukok. Others whispered she should never have been disturbed, that her unearthing angered the mountains themselves. Weeks after her excavation, a massive earthquake struck the region. Even now, elders call her the woman whose rest brought storms. Whether you believe in legend or not, her story is a reminder that death preserved is not always death forgiven. From glacial tombs to volcanic ash, each of these deaths tells the same story. Time can destroy almost everything, except the moment itself. The ice remembers. The earth remembers. And in rare, impossible conditions, it refuses to let go. These bodies are more than relics, they are warnings that even in stillness, even in silence, the world is always watching, and nothing that touches it is ever truly lost. Because if death can survive the centuries, what else might be waiting, sealed beneath our feet? Alive, but sleeping? Maybe next time we'll look at the day the ice woke up, when something ancient thawed and started breathing again. Until then, this was Frozen in Time, and you've been watching Earth's Hidden Frame.